very good. Thank you, Jay. How are you?
Good. I heard you've got a good news for us.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, what is it? Can you tell us more about it?
So this is actually a very, very good news for business owner or investors from overseas who are keen to know about opportunity to migrate to to New Zealand or Australia in the future.
New Zealand now?
Yes.
Yep. I'm excited. Tell me about it.
So on the 1st of April 2025, the Immigration New Zealand, they just launched not a very new program, but they have launched what they call a new versions of a new program called Active Investor Plus program in New Zealand. And what it does is it have a reduced investment amount of money.
Yes.
And now, before it used to be $15 million for the Active Investor Plus program. And now it's only $5 million.
So it's if we look at that, it's quite similar to what we have here in Australia, the 188 visa. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yep.
So in Australia, since about 2012 and up until 2022, we do have a program called Business Innovation and Investment Visa Program, Surplus 188.
Right.
And within this 188 visa surplus, they got 188A or 188B or 188C. And 188C, which is a significant investor visa program, it requires you to invest $5 million into managed funds in Australia with a pathway to permanent residency.
Right.
So now, after October 2022, we can say that there is no longer any quota for the new 1AA visa. So technically, since October until 2022 until now, there's no pathway for any keen investors who would like to migrate to Australia. So and I think New Zealand saw that opportunity. New Zealand government, they saw that opportunity. So now they modify their existing Active Investor Plus visa program to change it from 15 million to the 5 million. So give it on par with the old 1AAC investment visa program in Australia. Because why? Because obviously they want to attract the investment that Australia doesn't have any program now. So all the investors, they can come to New Zealand to help them with their economy recovery.
It's true. Because I know a lot of investors actually that wanted to actually migrate here in Australia, but since 2022, like you said, there is no quota. So actually those wealthy investors, they don't have anywhere to go, which is why I think I heard from you as well, they've gone to like other country, like in the European sort of like continent. So I mean, obviously we want to keep them here. Don't you agree?
I completely agree. We would love to keep them here in Australia, but unfortunately, we had a new government in May 2022, and when the new government get elected, they decided that they no longer want passive investment.
They don't want the rich people. Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, they see it this way. But now, New Zealand, they had an elections about 2 years ago, and this Active Investor Plus visa program was launched back in about September 2022 under the old New Zealand Labour government. And at that time, they set up a threshold to be very high. They required to invest at least $7.5 million all the way to $15 million. And because of that, they could not attract a lot of investors. So they can only do, over the last 3 years from 2022 until 2025 now, they only can attract, hundreds of $1 million. Comparing to billions of dollars that they use to be able to attract under the Investor 1 and 2, which is the old program. So now in 2023, New Zealand also had a federal elections.
Yes.
And the new government, which is a national party, they got elected, and because of that, that is when they had a look at this opportunity, look at Australia, and they see that, look, why don't we change this program a bit to make it more attractive to the investors?
Yes.
And here we go. So at the beginning of this year, they officially announced about the new program, and this program has been start from the 1st of April 2025, and just within say a month since the new program commenced, there is reports saying that there's approximately 40 to 50 applications that already lodged with the department.
That's amazing.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
If you times it with $5 million, 50 application times $5 million.
You've got 200 million coming
on the
into
pipeline,
the country, right?
Into the country straight away. And it's on the pipeline to come into the country, and it's significant amount of money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I totally agree with you. Because you know what, like 5 million each sort of like applicant, and they so far get around about 40 to 50 already. Hey, that's like 200, million easy, and you can actually use that, to actually boost up the country
100%
economy.
100%.
Yeah. So tell me more about it. Yes, we know already that it's the 5 million one. Can you tell me, about the requirement? Like what what sort of like fulfillment does someone have to have to be eligible for it?
Yeah. So there is few requirements for the new program.
Yes.
But compare and I think to put it into the context, then I would like to compare it with the old 1AAC in Australia with the new program in New Zealand. So number one is English requirement.
Yes.
So at the moment with the new Active Investor Plus visa program, there is no English requirement.
Right.
Before with the old rules, they required investors to achieve five points in IELTS score, which is make it very hard.
Yes.
For those that very
doesn't
wealthy.
Doesn't really spend much time to speak English and all that stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
But with the new program here, there's no English language requirement.
Wow.
So it's on par with what Australia was offering.
Yeah.
So for the 1AAC program, there's no English requirement as well. So same for the English language requirement.
Yeah.
Number two is the residence requirement. Resident requirement means that this is the number of days that you need to reside in New Zealand in order for you to meet the requirement for the permanent resident stage. Right?
Yeah.
This is much better than Australia.
Oh my God. Tell me about that. Like, I mean, Australia one, I remember like my client or the one that actually applied for it, they were like, how am I going to be able to leave my business back home or wherever it is and then actually like stay? I think like requirement for Australia, it's like crazy. They probably have to stay here permanently, isn't it?
Not that. It depends on which stream. Which stream. So if they was migrating under 1AAB, which is the investor visa program, then within 4 years they need to stay 2.
That's what I'm
or
saying. 50%.
within or with the new. So they had a new requirement after the 1st of July 2021. In 3 years they need to stay 2 years, so that is more than 50%. That is like 66%. That is for the investor stream. But if you're talking about the significant investor stream, which is the 1AAC, they require 40 days per year. So you need to stay in Australia 40 days per year. But guess what, in New Zealand,
tell me
it's much better. So they only require the investor to stay in New Zealand in 3 years, only 21 days.
So let me get it right. In 3 years, the total of days that you actually need to stay here is 21 days?
I mean, that's it. So it's equivalent to an average of say 7 days per year.
It's kind of like, hey, like maybe like a Christmas holiday, a week in New Zealand every year.
That's it. And
that's it,
And that is not even enough for your golf trips, because you need more than 1 week for doing the golf trip.
Yes.
And maybe you spend a few days in North Islands and some days in South Island. You need 3 weeks for your golf trip to New Zealand, and that's all.
Yeah, that's crazy. Crazy. So 21 days is amazing.
It's just nothing at all.
Yeah, right? I know, yeah.
That
Which is good. You know what? We want your money, but we don't need you to stay here. Sort of thing, right?
Sort of things.
Yeah.
But that come to show that the New Zealand government, they really understand the mentality of the potential investors who they would like to attract to this new program.
Yes.
So they give it a lot of thought. So within this program, there is 2 different streams. So the active investor plus program, they divided into 2 different streams. The first stream they call, they give you 2 options technically. The first option, they allow you to what they call, you invest into a growth options.
Right.
Growth mean that you need to invest at least $5 million into a New Zealand business or into a New Zealand managed funds.
Right.
And if you invest these $5 million into the growth category, then you only need to stay in New Zealand for 21 days over 3 years. Alternatively, they also give you another option they call balance category.
Yes.
Where you can invest into commercial property, or you can invest into government bond or company bonds, but the investment threshold is going to need to be at least $10 million.
I understand. Okay.
And with that $10 million, the resident requirement is also higher as well. So say they ask you to invest this $10 million over 5 years.
Yes.
And within these 5 years, you need to stay in New Zealand about 105 days over the 5 years.
Understand, yeah.
So you got, so in a nutshell, $5 million or $10 million. And of course, for the $5 million, the risk is a bit higher than the $10 million. But obviously, it's come with the, if you select the right managed funds, it can help you to significantly reduce the risk, to reserve kind of, to, because they know the way to minimize the risk when you invest into the right funds. So in the nutshells, only, $5 million, and you only need to stay in New Zealand for about 21 days.
Oh, that's
for
amazing.
over 3 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, definitely, for people that actually want to come here, I suggest that probably the $5 million, it's not so hard to achieve, to be honest.
That's it. And the exchange rate is much cheaper than US dollars, right?
Yes.
So I'm sure you have heard that in the US, they also come up with the $5 million trump cards.
Oh my God, wait. Are you talking about like $5 million New Zealand dollar?
Yes. So it's 5 million New Zealand dollars comparing to 5 million US dollars in the USA.
Yeah.
And it's almost half. It's almost half price. Almost. It's the same. So kind of, it's about 50. So $1 New Zealand dollars equivalent about 58 US cents.
But hey, don't forget, like the distance from here, Australia or New Zealand, going to like all the Asian country, compared to US coming there. I mean, like it's a no-brainer, right?
Yes, no-brainer. And I'm telling you what, some of the top country, country that the applicant applying for this new Active Investor Plus visa program, guess coming from where? From the USA. The USA make the top 3 country coming to New Zealand applying for this visa program.
Look, who doesn't want to come here? We've got the best seafood, the best fruit. Same with New Zealand. Whatever we have here, they have it there as well. Of course, they don't have as many, residents as we do here. But apart from that, I think, it's pretty similar. They've got really nice golf course as well.
Of course.
Really nice lobster. If you're into seafood,
and the air is so fresh.
Absolutely.
The air is so fresh, and I can talk all days about the grass.
Yes.
The grass got, in New Zealand, actually the grass is greener
Yes.
than in Australia.
Hey.
And
Isn't the grass always greener on the other side?
That's
right?
it.
Right.
Pun intended, but actually when I go there, I saw the grass actually is greener.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm pretty sure, the living cost there in New Zealand compared to Australia here is definitely cheaper. Don't you agree? That's why I'm trying to.
For that, I will have to a little bit disagree with you.
Really?
Yeah, I think the living costs in New Zealand is a little bit more expensive than Australia.
Really?
Yeah. A little bit more expensive in Australia. But given that there is no investment option in Australia at the moment, so the only option is to go via New Zealand.
Yeah.
And why I say this is one of the really good options, because there is a very interesting information that everyone need to know.
Yes.
Because the moment you become a New Zealand citizen,
yes,
you actually can come to Australia.
You can actually swim here.
You can actually come to live, to work.
Yes.
And they will automatically kind of grant you what they call a special category visa, so plus 444 when you hold New Zealand passport and you arrive at the Australian airport or seaport. And with that visa you can live, work here permanently, and with a chance when you and then if you stay in Australia for enough of days, you can actually apply for Australian citizen.
Yeah, so this is kind of like a stepping stone, you're trying to say?
No, not actually a stepping stone. This is one of the Trans-Tasman Agreement between New Zealand and Australia. And for those who are, and for the smart investors who would like to take advantages of both countries, I think this would be a fantastic pathway for them to get and obtain and go to the Active Investor Plus visa program to New Zealand, and then get the citizenship, and then come over here to Australia to get the third citizenship as well.
Wow. So this is really exciting. So let me get this right. So like they only need to live here 21 days in 3 years. And the 5 million investment into, sort of like a approved body, so to speak. And there is no other requirement.
There is one more requirement is the source of fund. So New Zealand source of fund requirement is fairly stricter than Australia, in the sense that okay, so now you come up with the 5 million to invest in New Zealand, right? And the first question that we as a licensed immigration advisor, we will be asked by the departments of immigrations. They will ask, all right, where is this $5 million coming from? And then we will explain to the department that, all right, so my client got the $5 million, it come from the sale of property. They sell their home in their country for 5 million. But so for Australia, that would be sufficient. But for New Zealand, they would ask even further. They will ask, all right, I got it that you got the $5 million from the sales of the property, but I would like to know how did you get the money to purchase that home at the beginning? So say you may purchase that home 10 years ago at the cost of $1 million, and now you sell it for 5. All right, fair enough. But New Zealand government, they would like to ask where that $1 million initially you got to purchase that house come from. So they will trace back all the way from the initial source of funds that you obtained.
I mean, let's say some of these investors, they are quite young. Let's say, maybe they are in their sort of like 30 something to 40, like that sort of like age. And let's say maybe 10 years ago, they actually got this house gifted by the parents. What about that?
I mean, it can totally fine that they can use a gifted asset to invest into this program.
Yeah.
But the source of fund need to be able to be demonstrated back to the parent. So they will ask, all right, the parent gonna give. So where did the parent gonna get the money to buy the house and then give the house to the children?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
I mean, it's doable. You know,
It's
like
doable.
of course, you know, every fund it's got a trace of where it's coming from anyway. And of course, like, you know, because economy, especially like, let's say, you know, in overseas country, in developing country, I mean, like, they are actually moving very fastly as well.
That's
so
right.
like probably, let's say 10 years ago, a house in, I don't know, in Vietnam, in Indonesia, whatever, let's say it's worth 1 million.
Yeah.
It could be 5 to 10 million now, to be honest.
Easily. Yeah. So I just had my consultation with one of my clients just 2 days ago, and she said that she is gifted the $5 million from her mom.
Yeah.
From her mom to do this program.
Yeah.
And I said, right, okay. And I asked her, how about the source of fund? And she said, all right, so her mom got this $5 million from selling her house, which is valued at about $6 million. But give her $5. And then she said that back in 2005, this house was purchased only about 40,000 Australian dollars, and this was because this was kind of in the agricultural zone, and it was a rice paddy kind of things. But after say 20 years, you know, those area got rezoned, and now it's selling for $5 million, $6 million, and that kind of source of fund make a lot of sense. They make a lot of sense because this is a purely capital appreciation over 20 years. So it's made a lot of sense.
Yeah. And another thing I just want to ask you, like, okay, this is from property. What if these people have source of fund coming from the share? Yeah.
Totally fine.
Because you know how like share market is actually, you know, quite different. And you know, you could be buying something like at 1 million now, and it could be sort of like worth 5 million in really short time. You know? Yeah. So that should be fine.
Completely fine.
Yeah.
As long as we can demonstrate the source of fund of the initial 1 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the initial 1 million they put in the stock market, where that come from? It need to have a reasonable source of fund.
Let's say they are sort of like getting that from business, you know, let's say they have a business that's been trading for how many years? You know, like, do they need like that financial, or how do we prove it?
So they need to provide with the financial documents and also all the taxation document proving that, you know, this is a legitimate business income, and they already pay taxes on that. So they accumulated a mil, they put in the stock exchange, and it grown to 5 mil. Then it's a good story. It's a good, reasonable source of fund. Yeah.
Now, you know, like I remember with you know, the 188 that we have here in Australia. You know, once the visa is granted for, let's say, like a certain applicant, the family actually get you know, sort of the same visa as well. Can you tell me if that's the same case as well?
It is the same case. It's the same case, but better.
Yeah.
Tell me,
I like better stuff. Yeah.
So it's better because number one is the age of the dependent child is actually higher. Yeah. So in Australia, the age for the dependent child that can be included in the 1AA applications need to be under 23.
23, I remember that.
At the time of decision, which means at the time of the visa grant, their age need to be under 23, which means that when at the time of application, at the time they apply for the visa, maybe the child need to be say 21, because the processing time was 1.5 years, almost 2 years. So at the time of decisions, they need to be under 23 for Australia.
Yes,
right?
Correct. Yeah. I remember that.
Now for New Zealand, much better because the requirement is the dependent child need to be under 24 at the time of application.
Oh, wow.
So at the time of they applying for the visa, they need to be under 24.
Yeah.
So there is a really big differences here.
Yes, yes.
It's the wording itself make a big differences because for the New Zealand program, someone is at about 23 and a half now, they can actually apply. But for Australia, that you need to be about 20, 21 to apply in order for you to have a good chance of being included in the applications. Now, there's a catch for New Zealand that you will, you need to be under 24 at the time of application.
Yes.
But then you need to demonstrate that you are financially dependent on the main applicant. Yeah, so that is very important at the time of decision. So after you apply, you're under 24, but then when they process your application, it may take 6 more months or 6 more months or so. So at that time there, you need to still demonstrate that you are still financially dependent on the main applicant.
So which means like as
just
long as
study, full-time study,
or maybe
don't
like
have any incomes.
or maybe like don't have any incomes, because especially with all of this sort of like people that want to actually go to country that only stay for 21 days with 5-10 millions. I mean, their kids, like their working age is much older than
right.
Us that have to start working when we were in our teen year.
So at the age of 24, most of people are still doing their master degrees and stuff like that.
Yes,
so it's very reasonable. So that is something better for the New Zealand program. Now, in terms of the process,
yes,
it's also better.
Yeah,
the New Zealand one also better than Australia as well. Excuse me.
Tell me why do you say it's better?
Okay, so for the 1AA program,
yes,
there is so the process has 2 steps.
Yeah.
The first step, you need to apply for the provisional visa, 1AA. Okay, so this is only a temporary visa.
Correct.
And with the temporary visa 1AA, you don't have a lot of benefits because you are still a temporary resident.
Yes, correct.
Right?
Correct.
And then after 3 or 5 years, when you meet the requirement for the permanent residence, that is when you can apply. And when you become a permanent resident, that is when you receive a lot more benefits as a local PR in Australia.
Yes.
Right. New Zealand program is better.
Yeah.
In the sense that, so the first step, it's also two steps. The first step, you will apply for what they call a residence card.
Yes.
Resident card.
Yes.
And then they will grant you the resident cards. And then after 3 years, when you meet all the requirements, then they will grant you the permanent residency cards.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, with that 21 days, right?
With that 21 days. Now, the differences is the resident card, the New Zealand resident card, it technically can be considered as a long-term permanent card.
Yeah.
With some conditions.
Okay.
And after 3 years, when you meet all the requirements that you maintain the funds for at least 3 years, or and you also stay in New Zealand for at least 21 days, that when they remove the conditions. So it's a PR. So even the first step, the first stage of the visa, is actually a PR, but with conditions. And then later on, it will be a definite PR without the conditions. So after just 1 year from applying for this visa for this Active Investor Plus program, then the investor and their family can get a resident card with a validity can be up to 4 to 6 years. And when they receive this resident card, they can start receiving all the benefits that a permanent resident would receive. So like healthcare and send their kid to school to New Zealand, all of that stuff, they would be eligible from the first day that they receive this visa.
Yeah. Oh wow. Wow, it sounds really like unbelievable, to be honest. I mean, like you don't have like so long day to actually stay here in Australia. I mean, like in Australia, you know, some people actually have to stay 2 years, before that 4 years actually finished to actually get another permanent resident. So it's really difficult, but I mean, with this one, it's quite, it's quite amazing.
It's quite amazing. And the better thing is their time that can be counted toward their New Zealand citizenship.
Mm-hmm.
It can be counted at the time that they are granted a resident card.
Oh, wow.
So from that part, so they only apply for this program and it's processing for 1 year.
Yes.
So at the time of themselves and their family was granted a resident card.
Yes.
From then, they actually can be counted toward their time of meeting the resident requirement for New Zealand citizen.
Right.
And the requirement to get a New Zealand citizen is that within the 5 years,
yes,
immediately before you apply, you need to reside. So you need to stay in New Zealand for at least 1,350 days in 5 years. Okay. So it's equivalent, say, 5 years equivalent to 60 months. 1,350 days equivalent approximately about 45 months. So you need to stay in New Zealand over 5 years. You need to stay average about no less than 4 years to meet the resident requirement. So for each year, you need to stay in New Zealand at least 240 days per year, so about 8 months. 8 months out of 12 months. Okay? And this can be counted from the time you are granted resident card.
So can I ask you as well, let's say like someone, that wants to actually invest and want to do this kind of visa. Let's say, maybe, let's say the main applicant, which is both the parents, let's say, if they can't fulfill that 8 months, every year. What if their children is doing that? Will that count towards that as well?
So it will count toward their children.
Yes.
Become New Zealand citizens
first, maybe.
And themselves, they will still maintain their PR. And in reality, that's how it works anyway. It's how it's worked for the majority of the investment visa. That the parent themselves, they might not have the significant time to stay for the citizenship. But their children, most of them can. Because their children can come and study high school, study universities. And you know what? Just
not studying.
Or not studying, and they just enjoy their life and just within 5 years, and they can meet the 4-year requirement. They can apply for citizenship straight away. And the parent can stay PR. But when we talk about the PR, I have to say that the PR requirement in New Zealand is actually better in the sense of requirement comparing to Australia.
Really? Can you tell me why?
Okay, so if you migrating to Australia under business visa program 188, right? So after you get your permanent visa, which is the 888 visa, which is the permanent residency visa, it will grant you the right to stay in Australia indefinitely, right? But it comes with a travel period of only 5 years. If you decided you are not living in Australia and you're living elsewhere overseas. So you only have a 5 years travel validity period of 5 years. Right? So when this 5 years almost expire, you have to come back to Australia or you can still be overseas, but you need to do But then you need to apply for what they call a resident return visa. So that resident return visa will allow you to come back to Australia and give you extra travel validity time. So you can go in and out of Australia. Now, most of the time, when the case officers decided for the resident return visa, they will ask you for the first 5 years how long how long have you stayed in Australia?
Yeah.
And if in that 5 years you stay in Australia for 2 years,
Yeah.
they will grant you the resident return visa for another 5 years.
5 years, that's correct. Yeah.
But if you did not stay for at least 2 years out of 5, they will grant you resident return just for 1 year.
That's it.
So that means every 1 year you will need to keep to apply for this resident return visa every single year.
Yes.
But in New Zealand they don't have that.
So
in New Zealand, the moment you become a permanent resident, you have the right to stay in New Zealand indefinitely. And you can do all your travel that you like, and you do not need to worry to apply for these kind of resident return visa.
So what? That's it. Once you've got permanent residency, and then that's it. You don't have to keep renewing until you want to go and get your citizen.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Oh, so that means there's no cost. Because let me tell you something. I know a lot of people that I know. I mean, because of they've already got the permanent residency for 5 years, and then they couldn't stay here for 2 years. Then they were not granted the 5 years, extension. And then every single year, they have to keep doing it. I think you know who I'm talking about. You know, everyone that we know almost.
Yes, and that is the same story for a lot of business migrants visa, because the whole family, there will always be one person that needs to travel a lot between Australia and Vietnam to look after the business back home. And always that person needs to keep renewing
the visa
every year.
And maybe like all the other family members would have become citizen, and they're still on the same sort of visa.
That's it.
Which is, you know what, like I always think that of course Australia, because it's a very desirable country, it's very normal that the government is thinking of a way to actually make it a safer place, and also to maybe make more money for the country. But I'm so glad that New Zealand, you don't have to do that.
Yes.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's a big plus. It's a big plus. and actually, there are another visa subclass. That, for example, in a family, say in a family of 4, the wife and husband and 2 younger kids. Now it's only the wife got the time to stay in New Zealand to become New Zealand citizen. And then with that, once she becomes New Zealand citizen, then she then come to Australia. And she will be granted a subclass 444, allow her to stay in Australia and to live, work here for long term. And then her family members, so the husband and the 2 younger kids, they are still PR. For example, they're still PR. But they want to come with her to Australia too. So Australia got another visa that allowed that to happen. So that they call visa 461. So what this visa does is it allowed the member of family unit of a New Zealand citizen to come with them and to stay legally in Australia for the period up to 5 years.
I see.
So the citizen can stay as long as they like. But the dependent member of family unit can stay with them for up to 5 years. So what this means is, sometime in the family got 3 New Zealand citizen, and the father or the mother is still resident, and these 3 comes to Australia, then the remaining one can apply for another visa to reunite.
For the remaining family member. Oh wow, that's amazing. And then also like like a lot of people will actually ask like how hard is it, like what do I need to do, like is it just the 5 million, or do I need of course just now you mentioned about the IELTS and stuff like that as well. What about minimum, like sort of like academic point of view? Is there any there you go.
So there's no management experiences, there's no academic requirements, there's absolutely can say nothing, but of course you need to have a good health,
Yes.
and good character.
Yes.
So that is the two main things. But academic wise, you don't need anything in particular. Just the $5 million with a good source of fund.
I see.
Legally.
So like when you're mentioning about the good health, is it very similar with Australia where we actually, once we've already sort of submit our application, and then we will be directed to a certain sort of like hospital or like a certain sort of like clinic that can actually do all the tests for us?
Yes.
Oh, so it's quite similar then.
It's similar in that sense.
Yeah. And then also like like once you were granted, let's say that sort of visa, like how soon or how late do you have to actually arrive in New Zealand?
Within 12 months.
Oh,
Since the time of grant.
So plenty of time to actually arrange.
That's right.
Yeah.
So within 12 months, you need to make a first visit to New Zealand.
Yeah.
And for the residency requirement of 21 days over 3 years, it's only applicable to the main applicants.
Yeah.
The dependent applicant, they don't need to meet that residency requirement.
No way.
Yeah, and they only need to come to New Zealand for the initial entry within 12 months in the grant of the visa.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's it.
So can I ask you, this is probably a little bit sort of like out of the sort of like the context, but let's say now the main applicant is the the father of the family, and then let's say at the moment they've got 2 kids. Along the way, let's say if they've got another one, do you know what happened to another one? Like
they can be added to.
Oh, they can. Okay, that's good. That's good. Just in case, right?
Yeah.
Because I think like this is gonna be very, very exciting news for everyone that actually looking to migrate to another country like Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
But like just in case maybe they have another addition to their family, and they could be wondering what's gonna happen with them. But I'm glad they can be added. That's
they
good.
can be added, and we can certainly assist them throughout this whole journey. With whatever they need.
Yeah.
So now it's my chance to ask you as an real estate expert that if someone coming here as a New Zealand citizen and they want to purchase property in Australia, what right do they have, and what kind of property can they purchase?
Look, as far as I am aware of, everyone that is sort of like that's not Australian citizen, they will actually need to sort of like purchase brand new or off the plan, because anything that is sort of like not that it's not allowed.
Yeah.
So like for Australia, we have a rule that was just passed not long ago. So anyone that's not Australian citizen will not be able to purchase second-hand property. However, they are allowed to purchase the brand new and off the plan property in Australia.
Right.
Yeah. So which means like look, if they are New Zealand citizen, they still can come and buy Australia property anyway. But just at the current moment, we actually Australian government has decided not to actually let the people that is outside of Australian citizen to purchase the second-hand property.
Okay.
Apart from that, or you can purchase all the brand new and all the off the plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Australian permanent resident also can purchase an existing property as well, or only citizens?
So once you are permanent resident, you can.
Okay.
But not the temporary.
No, of course.
But because they are New Zealand citizen, if they come over here, they are sort of like overseas citizen. They are not actually local.
Until they can become Australian citizen.
Correct. I mean, they can if they can get the permanent residency, then yes, they can start buying it.
Look, when we're talking about the permanent resident,
yes,
that talking about the New Zealand citizen become Australian permanent resident.
Yeah,
I have to tell you that.
Is it very easy?
No, this is it's actually a very good news.
Yeah,
a very good news saying that just a few years ago, if you're a New Zealand citizen, you come to Australia, before you can become Australian citizen, you will still need to find a way that you can become Australian permanent resident first.
Correct.
Before you can apply for the Australian citizenship.
Correct.
Okay. But recently, just about, not long time back, it's only 1 or 2 years ago, and then I just can't remember exactly the time on the top of my head.
Yeah.
But the Australian government, they would like to attract more Kiwis, more New Zealanders to come to Australia.
Right.
So they changed the law, and now they say that, all right, if you're a New Zealand citizen, you come to Australia, we will grant you a special category visa, so class 444. And even though it's a temporary visa, it will be considered as a permanent residency for citizenship purposes.
Right.
So which means that New Zealand citizen these days, when they come to Australia, they no longer need to first obtain an Australian permanent residency, but they can go straight to Australian citizen
with that pathway,
if they meet the resident requirement. So 4 years, you need to stay in Australia for 3 years.
So let's say they will give you that visa you're talking about for 4 years.
No, that they will give you that visa for you to stay here as long as you like.
Yeah.
But since the time you arrive in Australia, the earliest time you can apply for the Australian citizen is after 4 years.
Right.
After 4 years, and in that 4 years, you need to stay in Australia for 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Accumulatively.
Yeah, accumulatively. Okay. And then before you can actually do that. Now, let me ask you, so let's say, if they haven't stayed for 3 years, and with that visa that they've got, do they have to reapply? No. So that's just one-off.
Yeah. So this is one-off. So whenever they go overseas, so that visa kind of gone off, and when they come back, they will be will be granted that visa at the airport or the seaport that they entered into Australia. So they do not need to apply anything. Yeah. They just need to arrive in Australia, and they will be granted that visa in the system.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Wow. So it's a very easy process.
Yeah. So like with this kind of thing, like you say, so it will be easier for people to actually, that want to come to Australia and New Zealand at first. Yeah. But even if, let's say, like in the future, if they are more desirable towards Australia, then they can actually do that.
Yeah. No, I mean it's an option for them.
Yeah.
So obviously, Australian. So of course they're two different countries, right? Yeah, Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
Australia has a lot of. We think that Australia has a lot of attractive visa options for New Zealand citizens.
Yeah.
If they wish to move to Australia, they can take advantage of that. They can certainly take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So by this way, it's actually a really good move. That if Australia doesn't have any investment visa program at the moment, they can certainly consider the New Zealand Active Investor Plus visa. Yeah. So they can go for that pathway, to stay in New Zealand, get a New Zealand citizenship. And at that time, they will have a choice. So either they can continue to stay in New Zealand, or they can have another option to come to Australia via the available visa pathway up to them. But there's certainly a really good pathway that can give them the right to stay not only in one country, but also actually up to 2 countries. That is I think it's no brainer.
Now, like once this is another thing I just thought I want to ask you. Like how there is like the IELTS requirement.
Yeah.
Let's say if they've already got New Zealand citizen at New Zealand, and they're coming here with that 444.
Yeah.
Is there still any IELTS requirement there? No, right?
No,
so that means they don't have to take any more tests then, which is great.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. I think, look, I don't know if is there anything else that you like we miss that you think that might be really sort of like, you know, interesting to you know, the audience to sort of like watch it?
Yeah. Well, I just there's just one thing that I think that I need to say. That, you know, even though this is a new versions and a new program that just started for a month. But if you intended to take advantage of this opportunity to migrate to New Zealand, and then, you know, do it now. And why do it now? Is because just within one more year, New Zealand, they will have another federal elections. And no one knows. You know, when it comes to elections, nobody knows what will happen, which party will lead New Zealand in another 1 year. And if there is a change in the leadership party, certainly a lot of things can change.
Absolutely.
And that is what happened with the Australian business visa program back in 2022. In May 2022, the Labour Party, they got elected, and just within 5 months, from May to October 2022, we already see the significant change. By October 2022, there no more quota was given to the business investment visa program. And then technically that program had been stopped since October 2022 until now.
Wow.
And things can change very quickly, just within 5 months. Now, to design a new program, it may take a long time. Just like the current government in New Zealand, it took them 2 years to design a new program, but to shut it down doesn't take long. So so you have 1 year now before the elections coming. Take advantage of that. Don't wait for too long. Because in the world of investment migration these days, in globally, not only just in Australia or New Zealand, but in Europe or North America, things change super quickly. So make your decision now before it's too late.
So look, we've touched a lot about, like, you know, opportunity to actually come to New Zealand and Australia. So look, for everyone that actually needs assistance and want to find out more information about this, you can definitely contact Long. And also, like, I'm always available as well. My name is Yuvi. So yeah, please give us a call, give us an email, or give us a shout, and we'll try to help you as much as we could.
And for me, I can certainly assist you with any migrations advice you need. But if you need anything relating to properties, in Australia or New Zealand or globally, you can certainly contact UV and her team. And I'm sure that you are in a very capable and helpful hand to help you to achieve your dream house.
Absolutely. That's what we are here for. We just want to make sure we help everyone, to give them the same opportunity to actually come and sort of like stay in Australia or New Zealand with us.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Harley Global, vì một thế hệ công dân toàn cầu hạnh phúc, đơn vị tư vấn các giải pháp an cư và đầu tư toàn cầu hàng đầu đến từ Australia.